Hey everyone, and welcome to this special episode of the Living the Rafa Lifestyle podcast. I know it's been a minute, but as some of you may be aware, I had to slow down due to health challenges. However, with this being the last day of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I decided to do a special airing of the podcast to inspire some much needed hope. Joining me is a phenomenal woman called Hollie Whitelocke. She's a wife, mother, and breast cancer survivor. Hollie is also the president of the Cayman Islands Marketing Professionals Association, and she works for the Cayman Islands government in a special project area as well. Hollie is also an entrepreneur, a girl after my own heart. She owns Executive Marketing, which is a marketing company based in the Cayman Islands. She's an American and a Caymanian with Jamaican roots, a little bit of spice. And she is an amazing friend. Hi, Hollie. Welcome to the Living the Rafa Lifestyle podcast. I know in your bio, we said that you are American Caymanian, but I like to think of you as my Jamaican sister, my little yardie party.
Oh, of course. Good morning. Yes, I am, loving my Jamaican roots and just love to have you as my Jamaican sister as well.
And I am so happy to have you here today to talk about a very pertinent topic. We are in the month of breast cancer awareness, and we'd love to hear your story today. You are a phenomenal person, a warrior who I admire, a pink warrior, so we want to jump right into your story of triumph. But before we get to the triumph, let's talk about how it got started, the day you got diagnosed.
Sure. So just for our audience sake, yes, Carren was actually there. We worked together. This was in January. It was just after the new year, January 2017, and we were working at the Cayman Islands Tourism Association. And, we had been through ups and downs there, just the journey of life together over those few years. And, I had known leading up a bit, I did have my concerns. So I was waiting to get the diagnosis. I had a biopsy in December 2016. So it was a tough holiday, waiting to get that news. And I remember, just kind of giving a lead up as well. I remember on the New Year's Eve, standing on 7 Mile Beach, and we were all, celebrating and smiling and cheersing and, having a good time. And I remember looking out over 7 Mile Beach and all the fireworks were going off. And I think I knew in my heart what was coming somehow with the diagnosis. It was a very spiritual moment. It was a very intimate moment with God, kind of saying, God, please, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to have to go through this, Lord. But if I do have to go through it, I know that God will be there for me. So like I said, I'm really I haven't, vividly, I'm remembering this very clearly. So it's making me emotional because I've come so full circle. So I don't want to jump ahead, but looking back, I can really just reminisce on that moment of saying, God, I don't want to go through this. Please, I want this diagnosis to be that everything's okay. The doctors told me everything's okay. They told me I'm too young. They told me I don't have family history. They told me all the things that you would want to hear in this situation. And so I was really hopeful that the diagnosis was going to be benign and not something malignant. But so I remember smiling and I remember kind of going home and I just had this feeling that something was coming. And I remember when we went back to work, Carren, on January 3rd or 4th, something like that. Cause it was like the weekend and we were just back at work. I can say it's January 3rd because that was the day that I was diagnosed. So yeah. I can say that, 2017. And I don't remember why they called the office phone. Or I remember just sitting in the office.
I remember that moment and I was so upset because I'm like, why would they call you at work?
Or, yeah, I mean, I guess they were just trying to get a hold of, me, however, but yeah, I feel like, did they call my cell phone? I just remember picking up the phone and them asking for me. And I think I knew, like, as soon as that, I just knew. And I remember them like starting to deliver the news over the phone, but they said that I had to come in and get the full explanation. And it was a time of panic, pretty much. It was a kind of a calm panic. Like,
Yeah.
if that makes sense, that's sounds like an oxymoron, but it was
pretty quickly. I think we were panicked, but we were so efficiently panicked.
yes, that's a good way of putting it for sure. And so you said you were going to go with me. I remember you grabbed like a pen and paper. And it was emotional too because of what you went through with your mom.
Yeah.
I think it made it.
It was.
Yeah, with you, going through something like that with your mom, I'd known you had gone something like, not this exact same, I don't think, but similar, as far as cancer. And so I knew that I was in the best hands possible for someone to help me, just because of the person you are, because of the God-fearing person that you are. And you are a person who's there for your friends, you're loyal, you're going to be there to help, whether it's family or friends. And through that experience, we've become like family.
Yeah, definitely.
So going back to that day, we jumped in the car and you rode with me. I think I called my husband and he was at work or he had to get the kids. And I said, meet us at the hospital. And that was when they gave us the news, but they weren't sure how bad it was, but it was kind of a roller coaster. At the time when I first got the news, I think they were trying to tell me that it might not be as bad and it could just be we caught it early in that. But, the backstory is that they were telling me that it wasn't anything and that I was paranoid and that they already gave me an ultrasound and all of these things that you might hear, especially like I was 30 years old when I was first, asking for ultrasounds and when I was feeling this lump on my left side.
Yeah, and I want to kind of press into that, Holly, because if you were not assertive concerning your health, then this is something that even the medical practitioners probably would have ignored or not caught as early as you caught it. You were
100% no.
You were very, very on the ball with your health, in tuned with your body. You knew something was wrong and you wouldn't let them tell you the platitudes that you probably still wanted to hear. You were responsible with your health.
Yeah. And I think that comes down to for like a genuine love for life. And also having been like, it's October, it's also domestic violence awareness month, having been through other, maybe you call them traumas in life or situations, you do develop a backbone. If you're lucky, if you survive, these situations, like I'm blessed, I'm protected. I know prayers have been answered in my life. I know I have been covered. I know if it wasn't for God, I don't think I would still be here. I don't think, just the faith also that, the mental comfort, the spiritual comfort that we have in Christ, can be life-saving as well. But knowing, I guess, as far as my intuition, I've been told that I've been wrong before. And, I was laughing with a lady the other day because she's also from Jamaica. And we were talking about our confidence. And I said, I have a Jamaican confidence, I have an American confidence, and a Canadian confidence. You can't mess with me. So I think between those three things and also having women in my life that told me my voice mattered, and also having, that gut intuition that something was wrong and trusting that there were so many layers of intuition and not letting someone tell me that I'm paranoid or that I shouldn't trust, what I know to be, I was obviously ill, right? I mean, It came out to be that I had stage 2, almost stage 3 breast cancer. And when I got the, full workup and, had to have a mastectomy and had to go through chemo, a year of chemo, 17 chemotherapy treatments, all the things that maybe had they listened to me earlier, possibly addressed earlier, it wouldn't have been so severe. So I am still working through the why me,
Yeah,
but even through that, I think
it's a little overwhelming when you think about the fact that, as you said, you love life. You now have a wonderful husband, amazing children, and you want to live to, for many years with them, to see your babies grow up, all of that. And I'm sure that when the diagnosis hit, that was probably the first thing in your mind. Like you need to see your son grow up. You want to spend more years with your husband, that kind of thing. Live to outlive your parents. You know what I mean? It's
of course, yeah, there was all of that. And
but
yes, I mean, that's why, like, when I drop my son off to school these days, like, it was his first day of school. He's 10 now, and I'm just sitting there, tears. They had Christian music playing in the background, and I'm sure people might think I'm weird, but I'm just so happy to be there. Like, I'm just like,
I think you're weird.
Wow, God, this is my answered prayer. Like, I get so emotional. Like, I was washing my 3-year-old's hands, and like the sun was shining in yesterday morning, and I'm like, this is real. Like, I'm here. Like, I'm still here. I'm so blessed. The gratitude takes me to the next level sometimes of emotional, because I'm just so thankful.
Yeah, and I mean, seriously though, you're not weird. You're just
Yeah.
grateful. You're just grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just grateful, and that's a good thing.
I was always a sensitive soul. And I think sometimes being sensitive and being emotional, people will judge you or try to make you feel like to be less of who you are. But so many times it's saved my life. So many times it's who I am and who God's made me, and the talents and dreams that He's innately instilled in me. Just recently there was some stuff going on, and I was, stressed, and it was causing it was like work stuff, things that you get in your head, and you're making them a big deal. And I was just like, wait, I'm like, first off, you get memories on Facebook. And so a surgery had popped up that I had a reconstructive surgery after my first initial surgery, the mastectomy in March 2017. I opted to have reconstruction, which we could, that's another topic maybe for another day. But I had that October 2017. On this very day, I remember going into this meeting and being stressed. And then I saw that memory, and oh my goodness, this confidence came back, and I remembered who I was. I remembered what I've overcome. And I thought, this is nothing. And I said, how dare I even not trust God? How God has saved me from everything I've ever been through. How would I not trust Him with this, basically at this point, something minute, when you looked at it in the grand scheme of things. So right. I guess, again, just going through things in life, it really does build if you're blessed enough and you're in the right mind to do so, because I don't judge anyone how they deal with their trauma or, their personal, I guess, beliefs. But for me, I've been able to grow a stronger relationship with the Lord, and that faith and that confidence, continues to drive me, and through every situation, knowing that anything that was basically meant to kill me or meant to come against me has not worked so far. So I'm going to keep keeping the faith.
Yeah. But let's backtrack a bit, because for the sake of our listeners, we've zoned out everybody and forgot that, I know the story, but everybody else doesn't. So let's backtrack a bit. When you were we spoke about the day you were initially diagnosed. Take us from there into what happened next. What did your treatment look like? What were the steps that you had to take to work, with the what God was doing in order to save your life?
Yeah. So from diagnosis, then the initial diagnosis and then the follow-ups, that's when things got really scary, because they knew it was more serious. They knew that they had waited too long to address it. And it was really, really tough. That was mentally the hardest thing I had ever been through. And it was literally physically torture as well. Just the tests that they had to do, the lymph nodes in my armpit. I remember they took I think 11 biopsies from each armpit, something like that, like testing all these different lymph nodes and needles and sitting on these tables and having to sit in these machines for long periods of time, them doing a full body scan and you just not knowing what it's going to say. Are you stage 2? Do you have a fighting chance? Are you stage 3? Do you have a fighting chance? Are you stage 4 where it has metastasized to somewhere else in your body and, you have a fighting chance, but it's also considered terminal? You don't know at that point. So that was just mentally, I could go on about that. I only had my first son at the time and he was 3 years old, and I just was basically living life like on an adrenaline rush. Like I was dying and I was just couldn't barely sleep, just, anxiety, had to get on lorazepam, just to be specific. These are very strong medications, benzodiazepines, that they're called benzodiazepine, the category of medicine, but it was like critical that I needed that. So that's just one thing, that I was dealing with. And then, yes, you're getting now, you get the diagnosis, you have the surgery, and they're like, yes, it is serious. Yes, it is a very aggressive type that, younger people sometimes get, that is, requires a very harsh treatment and extensive year-round treatment and surgery. And, when the biopsies came back from my lymph nodes in my armpit, they were benign. But I didn't know that until it was all very stressful, trying to go through that with a young child, trying to, keep your sanity and work and go through life. And then finally, like I said, after the surgery, that's when I got the full diagnosis. And then that's when they were like, this is serious. The one thing I was spared was radiation. I know a lot of women have to go through that as well, but that's when I was staged at 2B because of the size of the tumor and because of the type. I was spared the stage 3 because it hadn't gone to my lymph nodes. And that again is just such an answer to prayer. Like they couldn't explain that. The doctor had told me to prepare for that because they were showing signs of cancer. And that's why they took all those biopsies. But it was basically a miracle in of that it hadn't gone to my lymph nodes or further because of the type and because of the aggressiveness. So basically, I had the surgery and then had to do chemotherapy. Like I said, 17 treatments.
By the
Yes.
surgery, you mean the removal of your breast?
Yes. My left side. They decided not to do the right one at that time.
Let's talk about that though, because I don't want to gloss over the emotions that must have come when you, and again, I was privy to some of it. I mean, it was such a huge deal to know that you have to literally remove a body part and a part of your body that makes you feel feminine.
Oh, goodness. That was that part, it was a roller coaster. There's no other way to describe it. It was really, really hard. I didn't even know how hard it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be that feminine aspect of it. I didn't know that I was going to deal with chronic pain for the rest of my life and have nerve damage. And like, you don't think about it like an amputation, like, oh, you're losing an arm or a leg, but you don't realize like how much like your breast, your pectoral muscles, like you don't realize how everything is so connected in your body and how it would how I would have shoulder pain, how I would have back pain. That is, I guess I gloss over because it's such a hard one, Carren, and I know we talked about it's okay to be emotional, but of course, like I don't want to distract from the message of what we're talking about and get too emotional. But to this day, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I know. But what I love in all of this is that you had support. I remember your mom, your grandma, your family and friends, your husband, who is an amazing guy. Everybody supported your decision because we wanted you to live, and it literally boiled down to what was the best course of action to save your life. And although it brings us so many different emotions, I will say today that I am glad you're here. I'm glad you decided to stand up for your own health. I'm glad that despite the many emotions that might have said, you know what, I am not taking my breast off, you decided to do what was best for your health and also even your mental health because you got counseling. There was no shame in your game. You decided that you were going to, you know, do everything it took to be completely healthy, not just in your body, but in your mind.
Well, yeah, so that was that. I mean, that's a real key message with my story, I think, is that I did a holistic, I really addressed the issue holistically because, we call these things cancer, but there's so many explanations or lack thereof of why they happen. But for me, I truly believed it had a lot to do with stress. And I think it had a lot to do with, things I had been through in life that had affected me causing whether it was a depression. And, you would never see me as a depressed person because I'm
Yeah,
an
you're very,
optimistic kind of
very vivacious and bubbly. You're a blonde, Holly.
like I'm literally like walking sunshine.
Yes,
No.
you are.
But, I think when you feel even happiness strongly, it's that you could feel pain just as that strong, right? So there's that flip side of that being a very happy, positive person. As much as you can feel joy, you can feel the alternative, which is despair, depression. So yes, there was tough decisions to be made, but I decided to address this situation holistically. And, I was having spiritual transformations. I was going to look at basically traditional medicine. So traditional medicine and traditional treatment, which is like the mastectomy, chemotherapies, and those type of medicines and treatments. And then I also was looking at my mental health, and I was looking at my spiritual health, and I was looking at my where I was at in life. And one of the big messages that kept coming to me was slow down. And I still remind myself of that sometimes because you remember how ambitious I was. I'm still am, right? Yeah. But I was really, and we were, we were at that age where we were trying to get settled in life, like get that foundation. And we were both so motivated to get more, basically, get settled in life, have that financial security. There wasn't at the time, we were a bit younger and we were just kind of getting there, but the cost of living was rising. I remember that being a huge contributing factor to stress in my life. So something I try not to stress out about as well. And I always think about, wow, what, my heart goes out to other people who are even in worse financial situations. That's why God and a relationship with God can basically save your life, because if you let yourself get into those depressive states and you're worrying constantly, like your body, your immune system literally cannot fight off these cells that maybe everyone has rogue cells sometimes, but if your body's, in optimum shape or at least, doing okay, your body would naturally fight that off. But when your body's constantly in a state of stress and worry, your immune system can't fight it off as much. So this is why I did all of these types of treatments. So I literally, it was like a full-time job to get better, going to different healing doctors, going to different nutritionalists, dietitians, and just really taking an all-around approach because I did. Too, I also read up on everything. I got highly informed.
Made yourself
too
very
much.
knowledgeable. Sometimes I think you scared yourself.
Oh, definitely. I had to walk away from the Google,
Oh my God.
But
I'm laughing now, and I remember our motto when we work together, and to this day, like every time we talk, it comes up. If we don't laugh, we're gonna cry. And I remember many days in the office when things got emotional and teary and all of that. We would just burst into spontaneous, stupid laughter. And, we would say, you know what, if we don't laugh, we're going to cry. And I think joy is something that is really healing. If you can find a joke, if you can be silly, if you can laugh at yourself, then those are little things that will help you to manage your day and manage your health, manage your emotions. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes. And we were always making jokes, though. I mean, that's what, saved, like you said, I guess just humor and tragedy, or humor can be born from tragic situations. And I think that's, to the human spirit, and we were created in God's image, right? So to somehow overcome, what could be, what is a tragic situation, but to have the resiliency to keep smiling, keep making jokes, and seeing the blessings throughout the turmoil in the situation. Because let me tell you, I saw so many blessings, not just like, oh, I'm blessed in this situation. Oh, I have a supportive husband, family. Those are blessings and were crucial to my
recovery,
healing. Yeah. And my recovery. But I think just walking around and seeing the blessings just in life, because you don't want to compare and say, oh, that person has it worse or better. But I definitely did see, I was even saying, God, if I died today, I have had a good life. I would see people who were wheelchair bound, who've never had a dance, never been on a date. I'm not judging at all. I'm just saying things that I got to experience, like the little things. I was like, my mind was just constantly blown, like, wow, I got to experience this. I got to experience love. I got to experience having a child. I got to experience having friends and family and a job that I love, and have passions. And so, wow, God, like I've already got so much. And I feel like this, like, is, my birthday. I always get extra emotional in October with Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and thinking, and the memories pop up and the pictures pop up of those that, aren't with us anymore. And I know I'm getting ahead again, but of the story, of what we're talking about, of the healing, but it's just come so full circle to me, and to know how blessed I am, and to be able to be talking to you and sharing this message. I speak for Renee Dixon. I speak for Anya Tibbetts. I speak for the young women that were also misdiagnosed and didn't get the early detection that they needed. And that is the message, with anyone listening, is to not wait, if you feel something, and to always do your breast exams, and to make sure that you're doing your breast exams monthly. Some people remember it by feel it on the first. So you feel them on the first, on the first of the month. And that's something that you can remember,
right.
As a woman. If you're over 40, they're going to start giving you mammograms. So stay on top of that. But if you're under 40 and 30, like me, that's not something even on your radar, but doesn't mean that you can't get one if you have a concern. What they normally do when they feel the lump is do an ultrasound. If you're younger, right, and you're not at the age to get mammograms, they'll do ultrasound. And then from there, they'll rate it, a BI-RAD level 0 through 4, 0 being completely benign, 1 being keep an eye on this, 2 being, there's like levels like that. So 4 being it's definitely malignant, but they can't always judge that by the ultrasound. So that's when they would send you for either an MRI or a mammogram or a biopsy or all of those things. Like I've had way too many of all of those now at just the age of 38. Yeah. But, I can't,
that leads me to the other point of having had to deal with the removal of your breast. Then you had to address the reconstruction after doing chemo, and what made you decide to put your body through all of that?
Vanity, Carren, vanity.
I was looking for some profound answer. out with you.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. My grandmother was a Swiss Jamaican, okay? We have we want to look good in our little bathing suits, Carren, okay? Oh.
Oh my God. But what was that like though? I mean, I knew you went back and forth about it. We even
Yes,
joked
oh
about
for
you
sure.
getting a bigger size. It was hilarious. And
Oh
again, we had to
goodness.
use humor
Yeah.
to get past that because, I
Yeah.
remember that through it all, you still worked. I was just so
Yes.
amazed by you. You are literally definitely one of my heroes because I was front and center to the journey and I saw how, resilient you were, the strength that you exhibited. You still worked. And yes, our team was tiny, but we all supported each other in different ways. And I remember I said to you, I will work overtime. I will do all of your work. It's like it was that serious because I wanted you to still be able after everything to come back to your job knowing that, you wouldn't have had to worry about that.
Yeah. And I think, whether it's resiliency or survival, work was such a basically a healthy distraction for me. I didn't turn to drugs or alcohol. I just, if you can dive into something you're passionate about, right? Or, probably find a healthier passion than ours, which at the time was we were very passionate about our work and it was
God bless
just,
the ITA. Oh my God.
oh
Anyway,
my goodness.
back
Yes.
to serious business.
Back to serious talk. Oh my gosh. Literally. I keep thinking of jokes to say too, and I'm stopping because I know that, I don't want to make you choke like I used to do at work. And oh my gosh,
Yes,
you'd be drinking your tea and coffee. I wouldn't be
you
looking.
always chose when I was drinking a beverage. Always.
I didn't even know, but I was just constantly
Oh my
and that's how my
God.
brain works. I don't know. I will, like, my father, who's from Jamaica, he was a very, he had a great sense of humor. My grandfather as well, Ronald Campbell, had a great sense of humor. And so I would say, I'm thankful. These are I'm thankful that I was confident enough to push for my diagnosis. I'm thankful that I had friends and family to support me. I'm thankful that, then I have a sense of humor, to overcome those darkest moments of, really, truly, I remember, between the January and the March, those 2017, I really didn't know if I was going to live or die that year. And we'll know more soon once we do this test, once we do this surgery. And the fear, the horror, really, truly, it took years and, to process I definitely encourage anyone who, not only to push for, and I don't say push for a diagnosis because you're not going there to be told you have breast cancer. If you have a lump, you want not them to say, oh, we think this is a cyst. We think this is just a fatty bump, nothing to worry about. You want them to know for sure. So that's the first key. You want them to know for sure and to be able to tell you. And, I remember at one point one of the reasons they gave me that they didn't biopsy my lump from the beginning, was that they can't biopsy every lump. They would just be basically hurting people by just sending not even just the system overwhelmed, but they don't want to biopsy you if you don't need it. They're not trying to stick needles in your breast just because you are concerned.
Let me
They
ask you a
want to.
question. I
But
don't
I
know if
said
you
to them,
know.
so just real quick, Carren, I said to the doctor on that, I said, well, over biopsying people doesn't kill them. Under biopsying people kill them. If you give them a biopsy and it's nothing, they're not going to die. But if you don't give them the biopsy and it's something, they are going to die. So let's go with the
Exactly.
biopsy.
That was going to be
Yeah.
my question because I don't know if you know the
Uh-huh.
answer, but I'm really now wondering. So what determines if you get a biopsy then?
that BI-RAD level that I was telling you about, and from the radiologist. So the ultrasound technician, so the sonographer or ultrasound technician, they do the scan, like with the wand over your breast or wherever it may be. And then they will say, I think they give their notes, and then the radiologist doctor reviews that and signs off on it. So they have a big job to do, those people, and they have to, especially like, I think for me, they should have been a little more like, if someone comes in and is like, I'm really worried about this, like you would think that would flag something too, but it doesn't. It's like, oh, she's just a lump, and we see this all the time, don't worry about it, and tell me not to worry about it. And I can't tell you how many times through this process people told me, don't worry. And I'm like, I'm highly worried.
Do you think though that it's desensitization with the increase in, as you said, the increase of people generating lumps and that kind of thing? Is it that, some of the persons that get to determine how investigation goes forward, is it that they're desensitized? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think, it could be that the system is, overworked. So maybe they're seeing too many reports per day. I think that for some reason, I know for a fact it's not as common in younger people. So that's going to obviously trigger them to be less on their guard when it's a younger person.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then, so I think they're less on their guard when it's a younger person. When they hear no family history, then they're less on guard as well. But I remember learning that 20% of women with family history get breast cancer. I remember doing that, like mathing. Because I'm like, well, if 20% of women that have family history get breast cancer, does that mean that the 80% of women who have it don't have family history? Do you know what I mean? Like the alternative of that? Because basically what I'm saying is, yes, if you have family history, you may be more likely, but not having family history definitely does not. It does. But there are certain types, like the type I had called HER2 positive, HER2 positive, and it's that's more common in younger people. So this is a type of thing that they need to be on the lookout for. HER2 positive is not the typical hormonal type of breast cancer. So there's 3 typical types, ER positive, PR positive, and HER2 positive. So ER is estrogen related, PR is progesterone related, and HER is the human epidermal growth protein or receptor. And they don't know why it happens in some women, but basically you have cells and you have these proteins that tell your body to replicate cells. But for some reason, the cells start replicating too quickly. They're over replicating basically. So that's what HER2 positive is. And the type that I had was ductal carcinoma. So it was in the milk ducts. And ladies too, and this is I feel like this is so unfair because having, like I had, and trigger warning for pregnancy loss, I had a pregnancy loss in November 2015. And then I felt the lump January 2016. So for the first time, it took me 1 whole year to fight for that diagnosis, many doctor's visits. But the breast cancer they don't know why breast cancer happens to some young women and some not, but they do look at like your pregnancy history for hormonal reasons. And they do look at like if you've breastfed before. So they say like breastfeeding can prevent breast cancer. I'm not sure if that's because, you're releasing the milk, it's more like what your body's naturally meant to do hormonally, but these are things. And so there's so many mental things playing around in your mind. But as I said, it just seems kind of unfair that a pregnancy loss could maybe heighten your risk for breast cancer. But I'm only sharing these things to, those things are quite common, that occurrence is quite common too. So I want women to be aware of some of the potential contributing factors. Yeah. Because, our bodies are intricate. We have hormonal balances or imbalances, and these things can lead to disease. We think of the word disease and don't realize that it just is the opposite of at ease. right?
Yeah.
Your body wants to be at ease and just not naturally comfortable. But when you go through whatever it is in life, stress, traumas, loss of loved ones, grieving, our bodies go from at ease to now they're dis-ease, right? They're not comfortable. They're not operating how you want them to be. So you can have these quote glitches like this HER2 positive where all of a sudden your cells start over replicating or just rapidly doing what they're not supposed to do. And, I used to, really try to rack my brain and try to understand it like from a scientific standpoint. And I used to follow all these pages, and I used to be a part of groups for HER2 survivors. And then I would join these little breakouts of like young HER2 survivors. And I had to come off of it because it's such a a lot of women that go through HER2 positive diagnoses, it comes back. They do the surgeries, they do the chemo, and it comes back, right? Because of like the type that it is and the aggressiveness, and maybe they were misdiagnosed, or they got.
You don't want to preempt the thought that it would come back.
Right. So as much as I wanted to surround myself with women who had gone through what I went through, and I wanted that knowledge I really would study it. How did these people survive? I remember literally studying, like, what did they do? How did they survive? Like almost studying survival, like a science. And one thing that I came across and why yes, you want support. So one of the main keys for our survival that they say is a key to longevity in humans is a support system, is social life. So I found that they said that's actually more important than whether you smoked or drink. Like, not to say we should be doing those things either, but basically you're having support, having human contact is your number one key to longevity in life. So once I learned things like that, I stopped maybe trying to rack my brain around the science of it as much. I started releasing a lot of my fear and worries to God. And I did have to, there was definitely some had to repress certain emotions, repress certain feelings, and I had to remove myself from certain circles, I guess you could say. I couldn't just constantly be in that triggered state, and another loss and another loss. And, I got re-diagnosed today. And and there were so many similarities. And I would think, God, well, if it's happened to them, if a child gets cancer and dies, why would I think you'd answer my prayer? What makes me any more worthy, right, than an innocent child, say? So there's all these like kind of discussions and negotiations with God. And I got to learn what survivor's guilt meant. You hear about it and people can tell you about it until you actually look at the picture of Renee and I on that. They did a full page spread on us, and it came in Compass.
Yeah, I saw it.
And to know that she's not with us anymore, it's just a certain type of, I can't say, I think I've worked through survivor's guilt to a certain point where now I just try to make them proud and keep their message alive. And Renee statistically falls into a category of minority women who are misdiagnosed. And I think that might be key for some of your listeners as well, because sadly, women of color are misdiagnosed even more, right? Than, I guess you could say, just other demographics, because we could talk about why that is. But just like they looked at me, like as a young woman who was just paranoid and who didn't know I was talking about, maybe I was emotional, maybe I was whatever these things, I was basically annoying them at this point to keep coming back and saying, are you sure you're right? Because I don't feel right about this. Minority women are even more to be basically misdiagnosed through that same type of thought process of not taking their concerns seriously. So that's something I learned statistically. And when I first read it, I didn't want to believe it, but as I guess you consider a Caucasian woman, I've had to in life see where, I've had privilege and where I've been lucky enough to even have decent insurance. And that's not obviously because I'm Caucasian, but I'm just saying, like, the different privileges in life that we have, having a decent insurance when I was diagnosed also saved me, because there was no holdup as far as, we need to raise these funds, right? Or we need to, we just can't afford them. You're just going to you're not going to make it because we live in a rural third world area that doesn't have access to medical or something, So I have a joke that I say, Google saved my life, right? Google, because doctors will say, I remember one of the doctors saying, what, oh, you think you know everything. Like you think because you use Dr. Google. And I remember being like, wow, well, sir, Dr. Google saved my life. So let's, not discredit, the age of information that we have, or the information that we have at our literal fingertips. Right. And even at a panel, that I spoke on at a health conference at the Ritz-Carlton here, I remember I was like, shaking on this panel because the doctors were saying, don't believe everything you read online. And I'm like, actually, the generally people are intelligent enough to decipher on Google what's accurate and what's not. And if you're not able to decipher that and you do get, somehow paranoid, you take it to your doctor, and your doctor should be able to put your fears at ease, with their medical background, but not dismiss your concerns, right? Because just because some people, yes, okay, not every headache is something, serious. It doesn't mean that if you're having, I remember, so for us, HER2 positive survivors, it can come back. And generally when it comes back, it's stage 4. It comes back somewhere else. It pops up somewhere else in your body. And I remember getting these headaches, and they weren't being taken seriously. And I was like, okay, yes, it may be stress. Yes, it may be the side effects of the chemo or the medication, but let's not do this again, right? Like, let's stay on top of this. And, I had to fight again, basically, to get like I can't remember if it was a CAT scan or an MRI of my brain or something, but you have to put those fears to rest. But I was really made to feel again that same kind of trigger of paranoid and pushy. And then just a few months later, I was sitting in a support group, a religious support group, and this beautiful young lady, probably same age as me or younger, came in, and she started to tell her story, and I couldn't help it. She was literally telling like my biggest fear, what happens in these situations. She was a HER2 survivor. She did the surgery. She did the chemos, but she had got to stage 3, and that's always like, and even more of a challenge, right? When it goes to your lymph nodes. So, she had done everything she was supposed to do. And then she started getting these headaches. Now, mind you, she had the same doctor as me and everything. And the same doctor was saying, oh, your headaches, they're stressed, they're medication related. And long story short, she finally 6 months later got the brain scan, and the breast cancer cells lingering had found its way to her brain. And I think she lived another 6 months to a year after that day that I saw her, and that's the reality of how serious it is and how quickly things can happen, and how we want to just stay on top of things and don't let anyone talk down to us. Or, it doesn't have to be like, and I hate that too. Have you ever been to the doctor and you feel like you're not on the same team with the doctor?
Yeah. It's like you're on opposite sides.
Yeah. Like, why is this me versus you? I'm not saying I'm smarter than you, doctor. Right. And, you don't have to be condescending to me.
It is your body,
right?
You know your body. You know your symptoms better than anyone else because you're the one feeling it.
Right. Yes. And I had indigestion leading up to my breast cancer diagnosis, and I always had this indigestion, like heartburn pain. I remember, you had been there one time, and I was, I got this deep, strong pain, sharp pain in my chest. And I'm not saying again that every heartburn pain is cancer. No. But when you look, and you dive a little deeper past like the top 3 to 5 symptoms you get with breast cancer, heartburn was like down there, like number 11, like it's on there. You know what I mean? Because your body, right? Your body's fighting the cancer. So you're not digesting your food as well. Your body literally can only do so much at one time. That's why they say our sleep is so important, because during sleep is when our body can heal. So we're going on so many different topics of healing, but I know you have a few questions that you're.
One of the things, as you mentioned about healing, one of the things I definitely want to highlight is little Logan. Like, he's a miracle. They told you would not be able to get pregnant again.
I know. And I didn't even do like the fertility treatments, because I had already had, one child, and my husband had children from a previous, relationship. So I was like, well, I'm not going to go above and beyond while I'm going through hell, right? In the midst of going through hell, I couldn't take on any more like mental or physical procedures with the fertility treatment. So I guess I just opted out. I remember just it happening so fast, and basically my fertility and my breast was taken from me, and all of these things all at once, and,
Explain that
so
Holly, for somebody
yes,
who doesn't understand what chemo does to what it did to your body.
sure. So chemotherapy basically, is a treatment. It's a drug that kills any type of like active cell in your body, right? So anything that's replicating, it stops all replication. I'm not sure about the technical terms of this. It's been a while. I've blocked a lot of things out, but basically,
disclaimer, you're not a medical practitioner. Just from your experience in general.
Just from experience, that chemo basically, it damages all the good while it's trying to damage the bad. While it's fighting against the bad cells, it's unfortunately, it doesn't discriminate, because that's the downside of chemo, is it can kill cancer cells, but it also kills your other good cells. And it also affects your blood cells. It also affects your hair. You have extreme hair loss. It affects your heart. I remember the chemotherapy that I was getting. Well, this was a targeted therapy. So up until 2000 and I want to say even maybe before. No, I think it was like 2012 actually that Herceptin came out. This is a targeted drug for HER2 positives. Up until this drug Herceptin came out, HER2 positive was almost like a death sentence, because there was nothing to fight it. It was they did not know how to fight it, and they only had chemo to throw at it, but chemo didn't really work as well on it. So doctors over time developed this drug called Herceptin and another one called Perjeta to fight this type of breast cancer that's more common in young women. And so the targeted therapy is good in that it targets the bad cells, right? It doesn't kill everything. But guess what? The downside of the Herceptin was it damaged your heart. I had to get a heart test every few weeks because it could just literally like shut your heart down. It's happened to women. Wow. So that was mentally, and I felt it. You saw me. You saw the wear on my body. You saw the strain, the physical. Luckily, the Herceptin was not as harsh as the chemo, and that's what I had the 17 treatments of.
I remember when you had to cut your hair, your beautiful hair. That was also another emotional moment. But then what did you colored it blue, I think, to make it fun, or pink?
I think I colored pink, purple, rose gold, lavender.
I remember.
I had like a rainbow at one point.
I think my favorite was the rose gold.
I know. I could bring that back now. No, but I oh no. I remember though, I did over COVID. I guess we were all a little loopy, and I dyed my hair blue, and I called it the COVID blue, the COVID blue. And I went to a meeting, a big, oh my gosh, at government building, and just the looks. I was like, never again, never again. These are my two personalities, the fun, carefree Hollie with blue and pink hair, and then like the serious Hollie in government meetings,
Yeah, but part of the other issue, as I mentioned, is that the treatment affected your fertility, and I know, just from being around you, that it was always your desire to have another baby. And then that desire kind of diminished, as you said, after you lost a baby and then was diagnosed with cancer. And you were busy fighting for your life. You weren't thinking about becoming anybody else's mom.
No.
Yeah. So talk to us about the miracle that happened. We have a few minutes left, so we have to go.
Sure.
Fast.
Sure. Yeah. So unfortunately, the chemotherapy and the treatments, damage your ovaries. And so I had several tests done, physical, blood work, all those things. And they were like, no, you've gone through basic menopause. So, of course, going through menopause, there's so many challenges with that, right? Any woman who's gone through that. And so I'm going through that at a young age, trying to also be a wife and a mom. And it really had its challenges. And so I definitely thought I wasn't going to have, another child. And that was something that was, painful to accept. And there, some days were better than others. But I remember my husband was the one too, who was hopeful and said, well, the doctors weren't right before. Maybe they're, not right about this. And then of course he felt pretty confident in himself as a man to,
Caribbean men.
Yes. He's like, he was up for the challenge,
He's a stallion.
He's like, if anyone can, I can, So bless him. Bless that confidence, Of course, he has the Jamaican roots too. Oh.
Oh my God.
So I appreciate his belief. I think his belief gave me hope too. And I'm like, well, maybe he's right, So then that's when I thought, well, God, if this is meant to be, this will be. So it was a real, maybe I'll gloss over that I did have a pregnancy that didn't turn into a full pregnancy in 2019, but it was 2020, of course. And I'm always like, God, wow, my life's never boring, So I find out that I'm pregnant in February 2020, and I'm like, wow, Lord, like you've answered another prayer. This is a miracle. And then like March 2020, we went into COVID lockdown. I'm like, wow, Lord, this is going to be an interesting ride, So, and it was, and, not seeing family in the States for over a year and different things, not having my mom or my grandma there, or, not being able to have people at the hospital and that type of thing. But Logan was just such a miracle, and he gave us such a run for our money. I'm sorry. He was the first year of his life, and, of toddler years, I'm like, wow, God, like, thank you so much. This is so hard, right? Because being a mom. And, I see my friends and they're 28, with toddlers, and I'm 38 with a toddler, and I'm like, I'm tired, Lord, give me strength.
45 with a toddler.
Oh, right. And that's what I think now. I'm like, am I going to start again? Like, when I go for the girl, as they say? Oh no. Hashtag boy mom over here for life. Because, as much as kids are a blessing, obviously they take a toll on us as women. But yeah, so I just was blessed again. I'm like, Lord, if I could just have one more child, and I got him, and his name is Logan King Whitelocke. And he is just such a blessing. And last night I was falling asleep, and he actually came over to me and he rubbed my arm and he goes, I love it to you, mommy. And he kissed me. And I was just like, oh my gosh, whatever you want, sir. Like, yeah, I'm so wrapped around his finger. He is my pride and joy, along with my 10-year-old Mason. They're both just miracles to me. And with Mason being born
Mason is a
early,
superstar because he had to watch you go through what you went through. And I remember you sharing once when you were sick in the bathroom, and he witnessed it, while you were going through chemo and everything. He's
my
an
heart.
Amazing little boy.
Oh, he just was 3 he just turned 4 at that time. And oh my goodness, what an amazing gift he is to the world, to me. And, yes. And to this day now, I mean, he was a strong little boy then and now, and I didn't tell him what I was going through then. They gave me books, how to tell your child, you have cancer. I'm like, I'm going to just protect his innocence for a few more years. Mommy's sick. Mommy's fighting to get better. He didn't, I didn't break it to him, but I remember it was the day that I was in that newspaper. And I think he was either he was 8 at that time. And I thought maybe he was old enough, and he had heard about, breast cancer awareness at school and things. So I showed him the picture, and I kind of showed him what it was about. And ever since then, he does we do the breast cancer walks as a family. We go out there. I speak for the Breast Cancer Foundation. I do advocacy. I speak at schools, on panels, speaking this message of early detection, trusting your body, and, that you can survive, right? Look at me. I have survived. And I remember Pam Lawrenson, here, I think she's Pam Green now, or sorry, no, Pam Lawrenson. She is a survivor who was the one who showed me that I could survive, right? So she was a survivor who came back to the trenches, and she works at the Breast Cancer Foundation in the Cayman Islands now. She's actually, it's changed her whole life. She's dedicated her life and her career now to helping others through their journeys. And so, I remember her kind of saving me to, throwing down the rope to say, hey, you can make it up here and look, you'll look back at me as a survivor, like me as a survivor. And so I try to do that for others as well, and to share this message of hope. And I share it with the message of God as well to everyone. I realize not everyone is a believer. And so I'm not super forceful in that, trying to make someone feel guilty if they're not a believer, but I try to show them through positive reinforcement what the belief in God and the faith in Jesus and my relationship with Jesus, what it's done for me, and what maybe it could do for them too.
And that's what being a light is. It's literally showing what Jesus has done for you. That's the basics of evangelism. And so, we're out of time, but I really, really want to emphasize again that I am so super proud of you, Hollie. I mean, you make my heart sing. I am so grateful that you are here with us, because you are a gift to us. And, I'm blessed to be your friend. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, when we started out, we weren't really friends, but no.
That's a story, another podcast. But I mean, look at God, right? Only God could have fixed that situation. Won't he do it? I love that. And I think that, we were probably just going through our own things in our own life. And that's another message too, is, you never know what someone has going on, and to always to just extend that benefit of the doubt that, maybe you're not so different. Maybe things aren't as they seem. And that if you pray over a situation, and we'll have to give Tiffany a shout out, our old director where we work. I remember she said, you guys will be friends one day. This will be a thing of the past. And we were adamant that it was
a prophet.
She somehow, let's call it, oh goodness, her lightheartedness, her lack of no, bless her. But no, thank you so much for having me on the show. You have been an inspiration to me. You've been a support to me. You have overcome so much in your life. So, we definitely have that in common, that we've been through so many obstacles with our health, with situations, tragedies, grief, but yet we never stopped putting our faith in God, and we never stopped trusting him. We never held a grudge against God. Yes, you have those moments where you cry out, why God, maybe what did I do to deserve this? Or we see a loved one die. What did they do, Lord? But God, we know that God forgives us, or should you say he understands us, right? He doesn't, I don't think, blame us. When we come to him from a place of, of humility and ask those questions, I think he just feels, this is making me emotional. I think he just feels not sorry for us, but I think he feels bad when we feel that way. I think he is a comforter,
He's
right? He is our Rapha.
The feelings of our infirmities. That's what the word says. He can absolutely relate, because when Jesus was here, he went through every human emotion. And so we can never negate the fact that God truly understands what we're going through.
Right. And I think that's why we should go to him with all of our worries, all of our feelings, even the bad ones, as some people, would try to label maybe anger as a bad emotion. But, anger has its purpose too, or, it wouldn't be a part of our psyche, that God created. So, I think that I just want to thank you again for having me on. It always feels kind of full circle to me, and October always brings these feelings up. So it's good to be speaking during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I think I'm a little extra emotional this time of year, but it's just a constant reminder. And then like what we've talked about today and the positive, words of support you've given me, they really mean a lot to me. And it feels like, I'm coming out full circle. This January will be 7 years from my diagnosis and 7 years from the surgery. And, I'm getting further out, and they do say, they say time doesn't heal all wounds, but it definitely puts a space between that initial pain, the initial loss of a breast or of the life that you knew before, but you can make a new life a little bit different and, maybe make some adjustments, and you can adapt and you can have a very fulfilling, rich life. I still deal with chronic pain. I still deal with not feeling physically beautiful all the time in bathing suits or, in clothes, and, maybe feeling my husband, I wish I looked better for him. But God hears all of that. And I just think he wants to comfort us. So turn to him and, surround yourself with the best support system you can. And if you need to get help, talk to someone, and just never think that you're alone or that you can't overcome the situation you're going through, because you can, with the strength and with the help of God.
Wow. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, my heart is full. And, Holly, we usually end the podcast with prayers. So I'm just going to pray for you quickly and all the others out there who might be in their process or, beginning their process. So, Father, as we come before you now, we thank you for the gift that Holly is to the kingdom. We thank you, Lord, for how she has overcome, for how you, oh God, have written her story, for how, oh God, you have healed her and made her a weapon against the enemy. God, a weapon that will speak for you, a weapon that will crush the head of despair, the head of depression in other women, oh God, who need to see a light, to see an example that overcoming is possible. We thank you, oh God, for her family, her husband, her beautiful children, oh God, her bonus children. We thank you, oh God, for how you have bonded them together in the spirit of unity. We thank you, oh God, for her extended family, her parents, her grandmother, oh God, and every other person who has touched her life. We thank you for those of us who are friends with her and have the benefit, oh God, and the privilege of being close to her as well. We pray, Holy Father, that in your mercy, you will continue to cover her. You will continue to inspire her. You will continue, oh God, to strengthen her and help her, oh God, to continue fighting the good fight. I pray even now by extension, using Holly as a point of contact for every other woman, oh God, out there who might have just been diagnosed, worried about a potential diagnosis, or have been diagnosed and are actually in the middle of a fight, the fight of their lives. We pray, Holy God, that your spirit will bring comfort. Hallelujah. You, oh God, will break every generational curse of cancer. You will break, oh God, the head of cancer that pops up, oh God, when they least expect it, that comes out of left field to destroy their lives. Oh God, we know that sickness is not of you. So we ask even now, great God, that these children, your children, will eat the bread of healing. And Jehovah Rapha, we petition you now on their behalf, that even now, mighty God, you will intervene in specific situations. Bring grace that is specific to each person. Bring mercy that suits every single case. We thank you for doing it now. By faith, we trust you that it is done, and we look forward to the many testimonies. Hallelujah. The many lives that will be touched. Hallelujah. Those who will be used later on as inspirations, the way you've used Holly today. I thank you, oh God, for every listener. Oh God, even the families of those who are touched by cancer, because this is not something that is easy for the families either. So I pray, God, that you will send strength to everyone who needs it. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Amen. Matthew 17:20. Faith can move mountains.
Amen. All right.
Amen.
So we'll catch up, Holly. See you later.
Yes. All right. Thanks. Talk soon.
Yeah. Thanks again for being my guest.
Good. Yeah, that was an amazing talk. It's just really, it's like, how things just happen perfect timing too, like processing things, and then just like having this talk is processing it too. So thank you again. Tell the family that we send our love.
I will, definitely. And send our love to your family as well. Take care.
Definitely. All right. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. It meant a lot to us because we want to get the word out and add to the information people have access to that may just save a life, not just during October, but all year round. Remember, breast cancer affects both men and women. So please drop a like or a comment, and more importantly, share the link with everyone in your contacts so they can benefit from what was discussed today. Until next time, this is your girl, Carren Lewis Matthews, and it's been a pleasure fanning the flames of your hope.